may know Lupe Fiasco as a Grammy Award-winning rapper who sold millions of records, but he's also making his mark as an entrepreneur, as the CEO of his own record company, and now by expanding into the tech startup world as the creative director of the health wellness startup, Higgy. Lupe was a special guest at the Wall Street Journal's recent NewFront presentation, where he gave me his own view of the business of celebrity in front of a live audience.
The Business of Celebrity with Lee Hawkins takes viewers inside the business minds of the biggest names in sports, entertainment, and other prominent newsmakers, from Lady Gaga and Pitbull and NBA star Anthony Davis to Hugh Hefner and Mercedes-Benz CEO Steve Cannon. Lee Hawkins, he just keeps scoring in-depth interviews with the most sought-after celebrities. Now, we're going to be shooting his next segment live from this very stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the host of The Business of Celebrity, Mr. Lee Hawkins.
I'm really delighted to introduce the next guest. He's really used his celebrity to break into the business world, showing that celebrity can really be used as a powerful platform. Ladies and gentlemen, surprise guest, Lupe Fiasco. Welcome, Lupe.
Thank you. Hey, everybody.
And Lupe is not your real name.
No. Real name is Wasalu Jaco. That's the name on the business card.
All right. And you've had a lot of success in the music industry, particularly in the rap genre. But you're also an entrepreneur, and you really personify what we aim to do on this show, which is to show how celebrities run their businesses. I'm very interested in this concept that you become involved with, the tech startup company called Higgy, which is a wellness company, and you've just been named the creative director of that company.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Higgy is a wellness company. It's based out of Chicago, and it involves basically a score. We have these things called Higgy stations, which are they take the place of the traditional blood pressure machines that you see at kind of like CVS and Walgreens. So they're updated. They take your weight, they take your height, they take your pulse, they calculate your body mass index, a bunch of other amazing things. And that's tied in also with an app that we just released at South by Southwest this past couple months. As well as there's a Higgy magazine, which is tied into it. So it's basically all these different platforms to keep you aware of your wellness, you know, your physical wellness, your health, as well as how active you are on social media, how active you are in the community. The magazine actually acts as kind of like a hyper kind of local directory of different events, running events and different things, and that launches June 1st.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my little extra side hustle.
And what's really important here is that you're working with Michael Ferro, who is an entrepreneur who owns the Chicago Sun-Times. And you reached out to him a few years ago because you wanted to learn from him and have him be a mentor to you.
Yeah, that's actually how I got the job. I actually write a column for the Sun-Times. And I asked Mike, got to develop a relationship with Michael, and knowing he's kind of a titan in the industry and in the business world, and I actually asked him to take me on as kind of like as his protege, you know, to kind of school me in the ways of, you know, traditional business, you know, because I understand the music business, been doing that for 10 years, have my own company and had success all through that. But the traditional business world was still kind of a mystery to me. And so I asked Michael, and he told me that he gets those things all the time. And one day he just called me in. He called me in for a meeting, and there was these, you know, these well-dressed dudes there. I was kind of like, okay, what is this? And it was my interview, you know, for Higgy, you know, to come in as creative director and a bunch of other stuff. But it was literally like, instead of him saying, okay, read this book, you know, go to this school and good luck, he gave me a job, you know, in one of his companies. And so that's been the kind of relationship, is him kind of giving me tutoring me in the ways of traditional business.
And what's great, when I initially met you, I asked you how you were compensated, and you mentioned that you got stock options in the company. You're a member of the board of this company. Why was it important for you to have that knowledge of the business world in the traditional sense when you've already had so much success as the CEO of your own company in the music business?
You know, boredom. No, but really just to the challenge of it, you know, to really to see it on the news and to see being a little kid, or, you know, seeing the stock ticker go by and not knowing what that meant, you know, and knowing that I didn't know what it meant and none of my friends knew what it meant. You know, just that basic thing of what is this and why are there whole channels and whole, you know, newspapers dedicated to this, you know, part of society that a majority of my friends, you know, growing up in the hood and growing up in the west side of Chicago, knew nothing about, you know. And so it was that from early on, it was, I want to know what that is. You know, okay, I do music and I want to do music, but I also want to know what this is. And to turn around and learn from that and then take it back, you know, to empower others with it.
And we talked about the period in which you recognized and realized that you were a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
At a young age, when you're a young multimillionaire and you combine that with fame, what are the biggest challenges that go along with that people don't see? And then how do you use the experience that you're getting now to take it to the next level and become a mogul, even if that's your goal?
Well, the biggest challenge is which Ferrari to buy, you know.
Because you mentioned you
No,
drive
but-
a Jeep Wrangler in Chicago.
Yeah, I drive a Jeep Wrangler in Chicago
You have
and
9 cars in LA.
in Los Angeles. That was a little joke. That was a joke. But it's true. It's true. But it was really just to kind of stay balanced. And the other side of that story is that I lost multi-millions, you know, at the same time, kind of doing what I thought was the smart thing to do, to invest in this thing or invest in that thing. But part of it being not having a real complete knowledge of it, but also dealing in an industry that is very volatile, that's up and down. One hit one day is the next day's, you know, failure kind of story. And so that learning lesson and that whole process, which was the management of it, you know, how to stay on top of it, to invest in the right things, to position yourself in the right way. And I don't regret it at all, you know, investing in some back into myself, but really should have been investing more so in the education side of it, you know, to kind of put myself in a position to learn more about these businesses before I got into them, you know, so deeply. But it all came back down to which color Ferrari to buy, you know, and I was like, man, I should have got a green one.
And of course, pulling up to the office in that probably doesn't go over too well, right?
Nah, when you're telling your artists that they need to sleep, you know, at the Motel 6.
But I mean with Higgy, I mean, you actually show up to work.
Oh, yeah. I go to work, I have my key card, you know, it's a full series, but I got to sit in on meetings and, you know, go through the humdrum of it.
Which is a big distinction because a lot of these partnerships between celebrities and major companies or even and startups in this case, the celebrity really is more just the face of the company,
right.
and they have a real, not really a substantive role in the day-to-day operations. What is your role as creative director in terms of what you've contributed to the company already?
Well, initially, literally that meeting, which turned out to be my interview, you know, I asked them, you know, why am I doing this? You know, what, for me, you know, why would I use this app? Why would I use these stations? Why would I do this? What is the incentive package? You know, what is the motivation to do this? And I was like, do you guys have, you know, this? Do you have a club? Do you have the 900 Club? And from that day on, it was, literally that day, it was, oh, Lupe's already added value. He's already came in and added a whole nother component to the company that we weren't thinking about, to kind of.
So this is a loyalty program where you can acquire points.
You acquire points, and at a certain level, you get allowed access into this club, which has all these different offers and discounts and benefits and a whole gambit of things.
So the people with the best.
The highest scores are, it's almost like a patterned after United Mileage Plus Club or something like that.
Okay.
But it didn't exist prior to Lupe Fiasco, you know, coming into the office. And since I created it, it's like, well, Lupe, build it. You know what I'm saying? Here's this team, here's this guy, go make it work. So it's really, you know, the challenge was, okay, Lupe, instead of you just being a face and go do a song for us, it's like, no, you wanted this education, here it is, now make it. You know, and so that's where I'm at making it.
Do you think your experience as a musician has helped you develop a better understanding of millennials and how they fit in terms of trying to access them from the traditional business world?
Yeah, there was definitely the idea of, you know, music heavily is marketed to the youth culture. It's always trying to understand youth culture, trying to understand to capture that customer young. And music has always been like that. You know, even the music comes from the young, back to the young. You know, I can still consider myself somewhat young. So going into Higgy, that was forward on my mind, the idea of the motivation. The motivation was, how do we get me, a young man, you know, to get involved with this, you know? And here's some ideas that I learned from doing tours, or from making music, et cetera, et cetera.
And I noticed that you've actually tweaked your business plan by diversifying into DJ culture.
Yeah.
Now, because the dance music phenomenon is so prevalent in the industry. Is
Yeah.
that why you did it?
Definitely following the trend of that, and literally was like, hey, there's money over there, let's go get some of that too, you know? But really just, and that's really what it is, but really just taking advantage of something that you do naturally. Is, you know, you get an invite to come DJ something, and they give you $10,000, and you're like, wow, can I come back next week? And they're like, sure. Like, can I get 20,000 next week? And you know, but even that is something that's been a challenge. Where it's like really learning that it's not just going up there and playing records. You have to perform just as much as I would perform being Lupe Fiasco and just doing, you know, as a rapper. You still have to travel, you still have to have these relationships, you still got to do sound checks, you still got to make sure the crowd is entertained. It's still the same process, and even the same creative process and how you put the songs together and how you mix it. So it may sound something that's on the surface might seem very laissez-faire, and that person is just kind of but when you realize that a lot of these DJs are, you know, making $500,000 a show, you know, and it's not because they look good, you know, it's because they're actually going up there and performing and treating it like a real thing. So yes, that's that's a challenge, but that's still enjoyable doing what I love.
Well, you keep at it and check in with us as the company evolves.
Oh, most definitely.
Lupe
Thank you,
Fiasco,
brother.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lupe Fiasco. You really seem to have kept your ego in check. How have you done that?
Well, I mean, just staying close enough to people from the beginning. My relationships early on, like I got friends that have always been my friends, so they see me one way.
Well, I'm not averse, I'm human. So am I affected by the human element? Yes. Did I feel close to her? Absolutely. I was there during all the years of all the triumphs from the very beginning.